Hello, soul family. This is going to be a different kind of video than I've been putting out, and haven't decided how often I'm going to do these, whether try to do 3 a week or just once a week, but we'll kind of play it by ear or how things go. But what I wanted to do, and am feeling completely guided to do, is to take my book and kind of do an audio version of it, and at the same time give insight. There's more that's happened since this got published in 2018, and more memories have surfaced. So there's just been a lot since this has come out that I want to share with you, and it kind of goes along with the storyline. So that's what I want to start to do first, and I'm literally going to start at the prologue, and we'll go from there. And of course, we'll see how often I stop. So let us begin on page 6. So each of us is on a life journey. Depending on our cultural, spiritual, academic, or personal beliefs, we may each refer to this life journey differently. I sure hope so. In the works following, I will frequently use the words love, soul, spirituality, and spiritual awakening to explain my own experiences around my personal growth. In my journey as a child, rebellious teenager, wife, mother, employee, business owner, spiritual alchemist, psychic medium, and channeler, I have met so many people who are searching for answers. What they don't realize is that the answers do not reside in messages from others. You see, the answers always lie within. The energy is rising within Mother Earth. Still true. All around us, there is a need coming from within to make change more than ever, to follow our path that we set out to do before we were born. Our shared experiences create the defining hook, the hook that attaches to a part of us, telling us we are stuck on a line, trapped and unfulfilled. When we try to break away, the hook easily gets caught on something else, a constant reminder that we are not free. Like you, I am continually working to unhook from old beliefs, false beliefs, and become the best version of myself that I know to be. Some of us want the full details of one's life story, while others want a guidebook for living a best life. You're going to get both. This book does not promise to be either of those. I do not commit to share my personal truth to awakening. I do commit to share my personal truth to awakening to love. To get the most from this book experience, you may not want to read the book in its entirety. Each of the 3 segments has its own unique message. You may have picked it up solely to find a single bit of truth that speaks most to your heart. You are encouraged to go directly to the segment that resonates. My Invincible Truth is my life from the beginning on through to a memory that changed my life. This part of the book is graphic and not for the faint of heart, and there's going to be even more. So if you are not open or ready to hear these things, you might just be turning me off, and that's fine. My Invincible Awakening, the rituals and practices that I use to stay completely in tune with my soul's truth and still do to this day. And My Invincible Love, channeled messages describing what we most need to know about love. I have been helpless and had to gain understanding from hurts that were long hidden. The trauma was immense, yet through all the discomfort, I found myself. And in finding myself, I share my story of triumph to help others, like you, anyone, to see deep within their souls, to discover their best selves, their glorious selves. May you continue to be blessed on your own life journey. The foreword, page 8. When I was 16 years old, looking up at the stars, wondering whether I should end my life and whether there was a God, I was given a vision of helping others. I remember thinking, if I do live, it will be to help other people in my situation. The statement came through me with such conviction, I knew it would come true. I did not, however, in that moment or any time over the following couple of decades, ever imagine writing a book. Then in 2014, I was shown 3 books and given an urge to share my story. It was told to me that the book would be the way for me to help other people as shown in the vision decades before. Okay, so I want to explain that part. You know, when I was 16, I had a car and I was living in Danville, California. And I had been out to Blackhawk a couple of times with a friend of mine from high school. And so I knew that road, not very well, but I knew it enough. And I had decided through everything I had been doing, it just wasn't worth it. Working 2 jobs, going to continuation school because I had to work the 2 jobs, and not finding anything enjoyable except for going to Berkeley and partying still, that I just felt like this isn't worth it. There's no purpose, there's nothing. And, you know, I'm just repeating things over and over and over. And I had set out one night after work at Fuddruckers in Danville. I don't even know if it's still there. And I left, took my car, and drove out to the darkest part. Probably back then there weren't any lights going out there, but I knew there was this one curve, and it had, it wasn't a huge ravine, but it had enough of a ravine that I knew that if I had went down there, that nobody would find me. And so I thought if I hit that fast enough, you know, I'll propel to the other side, pretty much crush my car, and then go down. So I parked, I got out, I sat on a rock, and I was at a loss. I was crying, and I just said, I'm done. I'm tired. I'm only 16. I hadn't fully remembered everything. I mean, I had remembered the emotional, mental, and physical abuse at that time, but I hadn't even remembered the sexual abuse, let alone the child sex trafficking and, you know, being subjected to child pornography. So here I think I'm tired and I'm done at 16 from those experiences, and I hadn't even touched the surface of so much more. And wasn't raised in any sort of religion, went to different churches, went to a Unity church, also went to a Baptist church, but just not consistently for very long periods of time. And I wasn't even sure if there was a God that I could truly believe in, that there were, let alone angels or anybody guiding you or protecting you or anything like that. And I also, at that time, hadn't fully, one, I did have an experience after this point that was a huge game changer, and I'll talk about that later. But this particular moment was just I'm done, kind of, I just don't want to do this anymore. And I said, you know, if there is a God, if there is really one out there, then you're going to have to show me that you exist. Otherwise, I'm going to drive off this road and I'm just done. And I said, and if there is a God, then I want to help others. I want to help children that have experienced things that I have. I want to give them hope that we can get through this, because there's got to be something else that I'm missing that I don't know about. I mean, you know, as you're thinking in your head, it goes a lot faster than how I'm saying it. And so I just was like looking up going, you know, I'm done. You need to show me a sign. And this just huge shooting star goes over. Now, this is the East Bay. San Francisco is not far. San Ramon was not far, and Pleasant Hill. So where I was pretty dark, though. I had found a very non-lit area, and that shooting star was so big and felt like it was right over my head. And at that point I went, okay, I'll take that as a sign. And I got back in my car and I left. And, you know, throughout up until that point, you know, from the ages of probably 12, 13, 14, 15, and then this time, I had just certain thoughts about, you know, let's start over. I don't want to do this. and, you know, just all the drugs and drinking that I was doing, situations that I was in. And so this wasn't something that just happened the one time. I had these thoughts numerous times before. So that's a little bit more to the story of how this was different, because I really had planned how I was going to finish myself off. So, continuing on. Thus, in the pages that follow, you will find the story of My Invincible Life, a biography of childhood, marriage, mothering, psychic awakening, and spiritual messages. A story of surviving a chaotic childhood by learning to thrive and celebrate every part of the journey. In the beginning, I was shown 3 books, and when I started the writing process, the first theme to reveal itself was that of a messy childhood. The second theme was the story of my awakening. The third was an evolved understanding of love that transcends coupled relationships and spans across all of humanity. Over the course of 3 years it took to write this book, those 3 books merged as 3 subsections of one book. So, hence why I'm doing this, because I think what I'm doing is, even though it's going to be an audiobook of this book, this second book is more about me talking and expanding on this book. And so I am doing book 2, just not in a written form. This will be published by video. So, and I'm, by the way, please, you know, send me messages. Let's talk about this, because this isn't just my story, it's everybody's story. So, just to get that clear, not sure what truly what book 3 is going to be. I just think I wanted to put this in here because I'm technically, you know, I like to write, but, you know, writing about I'm a good talker, as you all know. And if you don't know that, you'll soon learn. So if you have picked up this book and you have been invited into my life, and I thank you for joining me in a time of discovery about myself, my awakening to spirituality, and the divine love that is available for everyone. The sections have been written in such a way that they can stand alone. Thus, if you just want to read about a chaotic childhood, read My Invincible Truth. If you're searching for examples of activities one might engage in for a spiritual awakening, read My Invincible Awakening. And if you want to discover perspectives on life and love from spiritual messages, read My Invincible Love. Or if you'd like to laugh, cry, and celebrate life of a thriving woman, read the entire journey of My Invincible Life. Whatever parts of this book you choose, please remember that it is only my story. It is not to be interpreted as legal, psychological, medical, financial, business, or other advice or treatments. It is written to be fun, entertaining, and enlightening. Look for the parts that lighten your heart, make you feel good, and offer insights specific to your own well-being. If you find a section that contradicts your own belief system, please skip it and let it go, which it has. Any messages that does not feel true for you was not meant for you. My conviction at age 16 was to share my story only for the purpose of giving others hope, as I said. Take away that belief that you can help yourself through any situation, and always remember that love is the way forward. With Invincible Love, we begin. Okay, now I don't know how far I'm going to get, but we're going to start. So this is the beginning of part 1, My Invincible Truth. And Why Be Normal is the title of this part. I just said this today to someone. I said, we are all weird in some way. I think I might have used the word crazy. When we hide who we are, we suffer. Don't suffer, be free. Still not right. Here's my necklace I'm wearing for Freebird. So this book chronicles sex, drugs, divorce, dysfunction, homeschooling, rape, molestation, and spirituality. That's a lot. My story is not better or worse than anybody else's. It just is. I am not a role model and am by no means perfect. I'm just ready to fully share my truth. There is nothing that we can't overcome. Oh my gosh, nothing. Absolutely nothing. From the outside looking in, people have always thought I was a bit weird, crazy. So I quickly learned how to be a chameleon, to mask the very things that made me unique. What was so weird? When I would share what was happening in my head, or in my family or with other kids, it was difficult for others to understand. Whenever I shared parts of my story, kids would even say things like, "You're really crazy." They called me weird and crazy all the time. I had no friends, just so you know, literally. Um, Not until fourth grade, and then I was a tomboy, so I had some guy friends, but I never had any girlfriends. So as a kid, I looked at being different as a matter of fact. I couldn't be who I was because who I was didn't fit the norm. Despite my weirdness, I was actually remarkably good at fitting in when needed. When I look back now, it is easy to see that all of it was happening for a reason, and that reason was here to support me. While it was happening, though, I really believed I was crazy because I could see and hear things others couldn't. My family looked different from my peers' family, and my authentic self was hidden under fear. My life was filled with chaos, uncertainty, and pain. It was also filled with kindness, love, and divine guidance. I went from thinking I was crazy and hiding it by pretending I wasn't to accepting that my craziness is really my invincible truth. Now I love every bit of it, which I say. I was on the crazy train, still am, then the peace train and the love train. Now I'm on the gravy train. I like all my trains. Almost everybody is afraid to be their authentic self, which is very true because we don't know our truth, so we don't even know what that is. So throughout my life, I have learned who, how, and what I am. The truth is, I am a divine soul, a daughter, a sister, a friend, a spiritual alchemist, and a go-between of this dimension and other dimensions. Whatever I'm called to be, I now do this without fear, hesitation, or insecurity. Mediumship, personality, well, there you go, spirituality, and intuition are the things that I tried so hard to hide, and now they make up my livelihood. I think you, my reader, are here because some part of my story is also part of yours, and yours is mine. Perhaps because in some way, we all have a little crazy in each of us, and playing it safe doesn't create safety. Maybe you are curious about how a person goes from extreme dysfunction to fully express spirituality. Maybe you see visions or hear voices or feel the emotions of others. I want you to have an amazing sense of wonder and freedom in every aspect of your life. Oh my gosh, do I ever? Imagine what it might be like to be totally, completely, and wonderfully crazy you. When you read parts of my story, you may wonder how I could be okay, and the answer is simple. We're all okay. There is nothing we walk through that doesn't heal. Okay, now you know my story about healing. If you don't, here it is. So the guides told me that we don't heal through our experiences. Our body heals. You go through surgery, you get a cut on your arm, your finger. You know, I sliced my finger on the tip open, and with less than a week, it's almost healed. Our experiences are experiences. We don't heal from it. We don't heal from the passing, of a loved one. We don't heal through trauma. What we do is we either choose to grow and expand through it, or we don't. And either way is okay because it's your path. But truly, healing is just for the physical in this dimension, because it's about being in that dimension where we heal. When we ask for healing, the soul just knows to learn to either grow with it and expand through our experiences, like I said, or not to. So every step we take is just a part of the journey. It is neither a beginning nor an end. It is just a part of it. And as you read this, please don't only focus on the dysfunction or trauma. Instead, look for the depth of love, the joy, and the miracles continuing to emerge, not just in my life, but in all of our lives. So, when I was 5 years old, I can remember meeting my deceased grandfather in my bedroom and having a conversation with him. At that time, I was already hearing voices in my head. So let me expand on that. Grandpa Paul had died in 1966, in December of 66, 6 months after my oldest sister was born. And so I never knew the man. And so when he showed up, and it was a hologram, kind of like the one in Star Wars, which was interesting because when I was 7, seeing the hologram, I can't remember, I think it was Princess Leia or somebody showed up in a hologram. I resonated with that. And so he showed up, but he was tall. He was in like a full body size. I don't even know how tall he was. Seemed tall because I was only 5. So he had on his naval uniform and his naval cap. And I know now why he did that, because there was only one picture that I could recall that led me to know that that was Grandpa Paul. And so, because my mom had this one picture, and so I knew that that was him. Now, I don't remember exactly what he told me, what our conversation was. I know there were more, but this particular one, I was either playing with my Weeble Wobbles or my Legos, because in my room, that was pretty much the only 2 things that I wanted to do. And my particular room was called the Green Room. We lived in a huge Spanish house that was very, very old. And the joke was, everybody wanted to come to this house and party to, the haunted house and to have that experience, because the doors did open and close. The lights were flicking on and on. You could say, oh, that was an older house, except that when we left, they demolished the house, and there were, bones found underneath that house. So there were truly people that were buried. And so that's who I was communicating with, was those souls that were still in that house or around that house. So, and because, of just the partying and the dysfunction that was happening at that time, not everybody was talking about, are you hearing things, because they would say those things, but then the joke was, nah, they're making fun of it. And also at that time, I'm probably jumping ahead, was that my great-grandmother and my mom at that time, I remember overhearing her sitting there being a part of a conversation about my grandmother and being institutionalized. I already knew that I did not resonate with my mom's mom, that grandmother who was married to Grandpa Paul. So again, it was just a lot of things happening at such a young age that, these things seem very clear to me, whereas other parts of my life, it's just a big blurry mess. So when I started this communication, I also at the same time was having a recurring dream. And the dream was I was standing outside of the house, and there was this side road, and I used to walk all the puppies. My mom was raising collies, and so at one point there was like 15 puppies, and the one puppy, Pumpkin wouldn't walk, and so I would just take him along this side road, because I had to carry him and then try to walk all these other puppies. And so I remember standing on this road. I would look way down there, and I would always see a tall camel and a short camel coming to get me. And so I would let him get so close where I could see him, and then I would take off running, go in the front door, run up the stairs, go into my sister's room, get under the bed, and then I would put those big, huge chunks of ice in front of me, and I would just lay there still. And then the taller camel would always come, get on the floor, and I could hear him coming up the stairs, coming into the room, moving the blocks of ice, and then pulling me out from underneath the bed. And I wasn't afraid. I don't know why I was hiding. I think it was just a reaction. Now I know it wasn't a dream, because it was exactly the same thing over and over. And it wasn't every night, but it continually happened. And so, and we'll get to that dream possibly later on. And so I just, there was a lot of odd things that were happening at that time. Nanny the goat, would only come to me. We had a horse and a donkey and the goats, and there was wild sheep and, all the dogs. There was a lot of animals, the rabbit. And so, but Nanny the goat, and that's what I called my great-grandmother. Great-grandmother was Nanny, Papa Nanny, my great-grandparents. But Nanny the goat would come and buck me. Only me. And I mean, she would, and I'm 5, and she would just buck me and hit me right in the chest and just keep doing that until I get so mad at her. And then I would just like beat on her. You know, I was just pounding as hard as I could, like, you know, side to side. And then she would stop and walk away. So she knew that I needed to get this out, and she would let me take it out on her. Of course, at 5, I probably wasn't. Is that all you got? You know, I mean, she was a tough goat. So, so here we might get through page 12 here. I don't think so. Oh, hopefully we'll see. It's already 25 minutes in. So I was also growing up in a dysfunctional home, and my great grandmother, my mom, used to talk about how crazy my grandmother was. There you go. I remember telling myself that if they heard the voices in my head, they would think I was crazier than grandma. So I never said anything to anybody about my experiences with spirit. I went through my wild teens, got married at 20. I eloped, and had 3 daughters who soon became my whole life. For the next 20 years, I only knew myself as a mom and wife. In late 2012, I had a memory recall that I was sexually abused and went to a counselor for several months, and there I realized I needed to find myself. I didn't have any idea who I was. I thanked the counselor for everything she had done, and I began to recognize that the past was just that, the past. It was behind me, and I could only move forward. So, going just a little bit back, I won't get into the family dynamics right at this moment, but I do want to say that when I was at the counselor, that I can't even remember my own book, so I have no idea. You know, this might come over and repeat, but that's going to happen. So that counselor was amazing. She had additional training to handle sexually abused children and adults, and she also was specialized in memory recall. And so just she knew right away, and she was probing me at the end to, you know, do you want to, and she asked me, she said, do you want to start remembering the other incidences? And I hadn't really talked about that, but I knew there was more. And I literally looked over to my left, and I saw this black door that almost was like a chalkboard black door. And I remember looking at it, and then the doors started to open, and all I saw was just naked bodies and just things that animals and I just went, yeah, no, I'm good. The door shut. And again, I thanked her, and I left that office, and I went to my car, and I bawled my eyes out, and I said to myself, Andrea, no matter what happens going forward, I want to know who you are, and I want to love you. I want to love myself. I want to know this intimate detail about myself. Who are you? Because if you had asked me my favorite color, in my mind, I would be literally saying, you know, what the F? Because I don't know. I would just be like, okay, today it's pink, or so I'd be blue, you know, whatever, who was ever asking me, I couldn't give them an answer. And so, but I was getting so mad at myself, like, just pick a effing color. Like, it's not that hard. Which one is your favorite? But I had no identity to who I was. So this part of the counseling played a huge role for me in being able to move forward, and see and choose to want to know who I am. The no matter what, and I say this a lot in my sessions, that when you get to this place and you have such conviction that you are so ready for you, the more of you to come out, and you put it out there, I don't care what happens, no matter what, and you say that, your life will change, because the universe is like, finally, here we go. You know, let the roller coaster ride begin. Yet it was the best thing that I ever did. So, okay. Okay, so I began a journey then. One that led me to some self-help type seminars. Through all of this, I was accompanied by my friend and carpool buddy, Jen Marie. And there's a picture over here. I don't think it'll come up. Because she was also going through some changes. So carpooling together is something we had been doing daily for years. And we talked about everything. Nothing was left to the imagination. And we held nothing back. Oh my goodness. Can't even turn the page. Jen Marie invited me to a class at a spirituality center. I didn't want to go because I was a Christian and I wanted to stay with the traditional Bible-based study that was helping me keep my marriage together along with my sanity. As we were carpooling, she would read from the course books and continuously urge me to go to at least one class. Eventually, after hearing some of the wisdom being shared, I agreed and went to a class with Jen Marie. And during that class, the Reverend began talking about a dear friend of hers who had passed. As she continued talking about him, the left side of my body started to go wonky. And at first, I felt as if I couldn't move my leg, but the sensation passed. Then I felt the numbness in my arm, my chest, and my neck. And I realized I was experiencing what a stroke would feel like, but I knew I wasn't actually having a stroke because there was no pain. After the class was over, I walked up to Reverend Patty and I asked her if her friend had died from a stroke. And she said, "Why, yes. Why do you ask?" "No reason," I responded, and with a freaky feeling, I turned around and walked away as fast as I could. Literally. I mean, it was Pink Panther. Exit, stage left. It was like, ding, ding. I was out. I'm like, Jen Marie and I talked about it all the way home. The next week came and we were sitting in class again, listening to Reverend Patty talk about the course books. It was as though a light switch went on and I started hearing all kinds of voices, just like when I was a child. I remember thinking, oh my gosh, and I literally did. I closed my eyes and I just started going, oh my gosh, I'm really crazy. Just like when I told myself all the time when I was a kid. I mean, I was a latchkey kid, so literally after kindergarten, I would take the bus home and be home by myself until my sister got home. So I had a lot of alone time, and I had this little ritual where I would get something to eat and then watch Scooby-Doo and Tom and Jerry, and then I would go outside to be with the animals. So just for a short amount of time, but that's just how it was, and wasn't a full year of kindergarten because I was half a year with my mom and half a year with my dad. So, boy, did I try ignoring the voices, but one particular male voice started coming in strongly and began telling me things about someone in the class. And this was not a person I was close to, and quite frankly, I really had no curiosity about. I didn't even know her name. But I was hearing details about her life. I was so confused. He just kept coming in stronger and stronger. And I kept saying, oh my gosh, why are you telling me this? I don't even know. I don't know her. And so I'm like, am I making this up? What am I thinking about this? Why is it coming to me? And who is this male voice? And as I was hearing, I was also arguing with myself to get the transmission of information to stop. I literally wanted to do this, like, I did not want to hear it. And I said, I'm in class. I'm trying to pay attention. I want to read the books. I want to listen. I'm giving it my all. I said, no matter what, I'm all these things are just happening. So after class, I told Jen Marie on the way home what had happened in the car. And literally, she's driving and I'm in the passenger and I'm just telling her everything. And she just looks over at me and she goes, oh, well, maybe you can talk to those who crossed over. Turned back, kept driving. Whoosh. I mean, that moment where people have like an NDE and they see their life flash before their eyes. Mine was every instant that had happened where I knew that I was spared, saved, protected, guided, directed. I mean, all of them. And it was just like a do. And I'm just sitting there going, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh, great. Oh my gosh. Great. What do I do with this? I'm a corporate woman. I'm working. Why me? Wait, what do I do? Like, oh God, I'm just so confused. And so as the book says, hearing these words, my life flashed before my eyes, and I was shown many instances where I had unknowingly been communicating with spirit. The unexplained was being explained. Jen Marie had a number of loved ones who had passed away over the years, so I began connecting with these people on the other side. And we talked with a friend who was suspected of taking his own life, and we learned that the death was accidental. And learning this had opened the door for even more crossed over friends and loved ones to start coming through during the carpooling. I then began to practice this on my own, and through friends, colleagues, and referrals, a new life featuring my spiritual connection blossomed. So there was one in particular right after that I want to share, and then we'll end with this, is that we had moved to Lafayette, which is right outside of Walnut Creek, and that the house we were living in was Edgar Casey's niece's daughter. So I guess whatever that is, whatever relation that is, I can't even think of what it is. And so we, at the time, let's see, I was there, my sister Annie was there, and her mom, which is my ex-stepmom, and then the gal who owned the house and her daughter. So it was just the three of us at this night. And I was trying to, in the olden day, you would take one cassette and play a song, and then you would hit record on the other one, because we'd have our dual cassettes, and you were making your own mixtape. So I was doing this, and I was facing this great stereo system that they had. And actually behind me was a massive window, probably as big as this wall, easily probably 15 feet by 10 feet, maybe even 15 by 15. And it was beautiful because it was up on the hill, and it did overlook onto Walnut Creek, Concord, probably a mixture of those two. And so as I'm doing this, I look up and I see this figure walking behind me. There's a reflection, so I'm having a moment because I'm thinking, did that walk behind me, or is that in the window, or is that outside the window? And I'm not afraid because I don't remember that I already know how to do this, but I'm still not afraid. And I'm going, oh my gosh, like, who are you? Because this boy was very clear. And so he didn't quite say his name. I don't remember fully the incident, but what we did have a back and forth conversation, and he had said that he had at the time that he was there, there wasn't as many houses, and he didn't live necessarily in this house, but somewhere in the vicinity, and his mom had drowned him. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm speechless. I don't know what to say. Like, how do you help the soul? And I could tell that he was not happy, that he was sad and confused. And I remember saying to him, what can I do for you? I don't know what to do here. I don't know what to do. And I don't remember how I was able to help him. And looking now, I know what I do was to help, which is what I do, is help souls see the light so that they can choose, if they want to go to it. So in some way, shape, or form, I know that I was in that house to help that boy, and that he showed up so that I could help him. So as soon as we were done talking, I go in and I tell my sister. She gets chills all over her body. She goes, we need to go tell, I don't remember her name. We go tell her, and she gets chills all over her body. And she's the one that says, do you know who Edgar Casey is? And it's like, I don't have a clue. And still didn't follow up in that. So basically her point was she was not surprised. Okay. And then that was it. Nothing else happened. And I'm like, okay, one experience. But that happened right after, very quickly, within a month or two after I had said I want to kill myself. And so that, when we make these decisions, we change and we open up things. And so just wanted to share that point with you, because out of all my memories, that one's really strong. And it was looking back, and and talking to the souls that were in the house that I lived in at that time. And in fourth grade, I do remember seeing things. But again, at that time they were very different looking, so I had more of a fear of them. But this one I was so calm, and it really, I just always remembered it, you know, really well, just seeing him. Of course, I don't remember what was said. So I just wanted to share that with you, because I changed a vibration of mine, and being open and saying, well, I'm going to stay here on this planet. And so then this happens to say, well, this is really who you are. So so we made it through to page 15. I'm going to stop here, and we will finish up. And if you have any questions, please comment below, and let's keep this a dialogue and open, because it's not just my story. Like, you know, I said in the book, and I'm going to continue to say that. And this is just something I want all of us to be a part of, so that we can all talk about things that we're afraid or ashamed or feeling guilty. And this is the time I feel the vibration, the frequency is changing on our planet. And so we have a huge opportunity to cut our own karmic ties and cut our own false beliefs, whether it's this lifetime or past lifetimes, wherever they come from. So love you all, and we'll talk soon. Okay, bye.